On. Good morning, folks. This is Monday, the 28th
It
of
is.
March,
It is.
2022. Welcome to FYI. For your information, I am Gerard Finance alongside Sharon Duncan. And here with you after quite an amazing weekend.
Yes, Will Smith. Quite an amazing weekend.
Listen,
Are we there yet in the program? Are we there?
we are
On the Will
not.
Smith item? Are we there? No?
We're not. We're nowhere close to Will Smith item at this moment, but you know, Sharon and I have
Fake news. Fake news.
Sharon and I have
Fake
different
news.
views on this people.
Fake news.
This is gonna be a debate and a half today.
Fake news.
You know, it would be fake
Will
news if
Smith,
it didn't
wow.
happen.
Wow, Will Smith.
It would be fake news if it didn't happen, but it did happen.
Manufactured.
Manufactured news. That's a different story. That's a
In
different
Hollywood, you got to be
discussion.
very careful. Very careful in Hollywood.
Beatrice, good morning to you. Siobhan, good morning. Gavin, Melissa, June. How are you guys this morning? How was your weekend? You know, I'm going to be following the comments very, very carefully. Best smackter. I see Beatrice said, haha, okay.
We can't even agree. Was it a punch? Was it a smack? Was it?
What
was it?
It was a slap.
We can't even agree on that. That tells you. That tells you.
Right?
Can't even agree. Was it a punch?
goodness.
Was it a slap? Was it a smack?
What
was it?
It was a slap.
I think Will boxing the wrong people.
I've reviewed the footage.
Wrong people. Hashtag entanglements. Welcome around our breakfast table, folks. Good to have each and every one of you. Pull up a cup of tea. Hashtag entanglement. Is he wrong? Some people get them box. Right? Y'all know who for run up to. Y'all know who for run up to. Monkeys know which name for jump on.
Good. Warren said that let me state for all those who are criticizing Will, I would have knocked him out, right? Let me just add, right, that if you went slapping somebody in the face for disrespecting me, then don't come around me, right?
He's wrong to the people.
That's my principle.
Slap the people in the entanglements. Them is people need slapping, the entanglements.
That one probably went off record, hopefully.
Yeah. Entanglements.
Oh my goodness. So Cheryl has a different view on that, but we definitely
very in Hollywood, very contrary view. It's Hollywood folks, best actor. Best actor. Let me just drink with you my movies this year. I have problems to deal with this
Cheryl have tea this morning. It's not Milo tea.
I got TT.
Does not have Milo
I got
tea, but he
TT.
has tea this morning. So a lot going on. Dave Dorrell said exactly. He said Jagabats need that. Well, that was Lynette.
what were the trench crappos? What the Jagabats? Rocks and the people get the bucks. Rocks it.
Oh my goodness. So a lot of comments out there, most definitely about what happened. A lot of persons agree with Will. I see some guys coming out saying no, they don't agree with him. Sharon is here saying it never happened. So, Sharon is here saying don't get involved in this time in this special entanglement.
I did good.
Oh my goodness. And he wanted a
Will
award.
got best actor for a reason. It's a reason. Best actor. It's a reason. Right?
Will is Sharon is saying that we saw it live on display.
Yeah. I just find it weird that this is an actor who, you know, plays a strong man in a lot of movies, and I like Will, right? But you can punch a man for disrespecting your wife, quote unquote. You can't even knock the man off your foot. I just find it interesting.
A man of such
actually proportions, and you can't knock the man off your foot. I'm ashamed. Like me want to see no more action movies, Will. Right? Me want to see no more action movies, Will.
You just turn his face a little.
I'm telling you, and you so upset.
Listen, I don't.
Part 2, the next Oscar.
I didn't think it was staged. I think that there's too much emotion.
It was staged.
I do not think that it was staged. There's too much emotion.
You know what? I'm surprised. She get long in politics, and she'll know a set piece. She'll know when these things stage. I'm sure if you show that Auntie Gail, Gail to share was that stage. Gail probably write the script herself.
Oh, come on. The people walk around the country, stage and everything. Every word that comes out today.
I'm telling you, the folks went to Lily yesterday, the PvP stage. This is that piece. Staged. Directed by Will Smith. Stage. That being said, folks, we're going to get to that. We can get to that.
Most definitely.
Share the live stream. Happy Monday. And smash the emoji for us, folks. Share, 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 and smash the emoji. Margaret Nelson says, "Will slap the taste out the Chris Rock."
God, Lena Jacob is saying, no, that was real. Exactly.
Yeah, you know what? Y'all surprised me. This is Hollywood, and y'all are willing to put your head in the block on what is real and what is not in Hollywood.
It was real. I said it was real. The first time when I saw it, because I know Will could cry, right? I mean, I watched Pursuit of Happiness and all of those, so we know Will could cry. So
Will is crying too.
Well, when he accepted the war,
I see why you get best actor. I see.
So, however, what made me see that it was real, and I formed the opinion that it really happened, is because when Chris Rock actually made the comment, everyone was laughing, including Will. But then when he saw Jada's face, right, she was not laughing. That was not funny to her. So when he saw her face, his reaction was to go.
You had this whole entanglement with Jada, and somebody have no notoriety that we know of. You didn't cry then. Right?
Who said that?
You didn't cry then.
Who said that?
He came to the red table, he never cried.
Who said that? He came to the red table. I think
he never cried.
Stone Cold. I think he was. I think
never cried.
I think his
Where was
his disposition at the red table was one that was numb, like he was just there for being there.
Oh, so when Jill is smiling through all her happiness with that entanglement, he was okay.
That wasn't a happiness. That was a lot of broken.
Oh, he said, "Man, break." Treat it as a boarding show. Stop it. It's a boarding show. So that was okay when Jill was smiling through that whole thing. Let me just drink my tea. So once Jill feels upset, you go and you box people and so on.
No, well, listen. Oftentimes we don't know what is going on behind closed doors and all the pieces to their life, their life, right? So yes, we did hear about Jada and all of that, but we don't know what is Will and Jada's relationship like to that level.
So a man could do X to your wife, right? It don't bother you for slapping. But if you talk about your hair, then you got a problem with that. A man could,
but it's not talking about her.
And so on.
No, it wasn't talking about her hair. The bad part came when Jada didn't find it funny.
No,
because she didn't just shave her head. She was doing that because of an illness.
That's what I'm saying.
So she didn't find out as a joke. She saw like you were making a joke off of her illness. And
this is the Oscars, and the host makes jokes about a lot of things.
No, but you don't make joke off of someone's illness
that. And when in Hollywood did we start writing up these rules? Why you make jokes about?
No, because
I don't make jokes about.
That's general, right? But I dare say that if anybody's to make a joke about my hair or anything, you're gonna be slapped too. So
no comments. Moving on, folks. Moving on. So. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I'll tell you why later on. But I don't believe it.
I was Sharon knows we have very different views on this.
Staged. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
They were on a big stage last night, but that was staged.
Well, we were seeing
Yep. How was the weekend, guys? And welcome to FYI. Those of you now joining us, pull up your chair, pull up a cup of tea, whether it's Milo tea you're having, coffee tea, or just tea, whichever you have.
How could you have a coffee tea?
Whatever you have. We're happy that you guys are here with us. Crystal Chipper and Rosie Rose Jeff and Vashti Magnot and Glensis Mingo Byrne and Brenda Bowman and Marlon Young, Beatrice Selby. All of you guys, we're so happy that you're here this morning. Ensure you smash the emoji button for us. You know how we roll around here. Smash the emoji button, share the live stream, and let me get on with it.
Of course. You're upsetting some people in the comments. You need to reevaluate your stand on that video. You're upsetting some people in the comments. I just want to alert you to
I think it's Jack. You put Will update to distract us from the problems at home. Notice we didn't talk about them Jack Bass and trench crappers yet. I think it's a PPP strategy to distract from the economy in this country. Moving on, folks. We're going to circle back. Put a pin in that. We're going to circle back.
We have a lot
in the morning papers. A lot in the morning papers.
I'm gonna let Sharon start you off on the morning papers as we go. I think there's some stuff that's on the paper before him right now.
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting.
I made the front page of one of the dailies. I don't know I don't know how, but
I
why?
don't think
But
the graphic guy is doing you justice,
yeah,
you know,
it's
Cheryl.
true. It's
It's not
true.
going on
They could
there.
ask me to send a better photograph.
No.
Uh,
I talking about
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
graphic guys.
I don't understand why I am not on the front page of the front page. That being said, folks, we're looking at the road fatalities increase, and we're going to be touching on some of that when we get to the morning trend. But we cannot implore folks enough. And we say it here all the time, whether you're pedestrian, motorist, or you're a pilot or something like that. You got to continue to
Yeah.
be careful, be cautious, and all of that,
Yeah.
right? Because this thing is an epidemic now. The way in which persons are being killed on the roadways, and it should be a cause of concern to all. And I don't think the administration is very serious in tackling it. I saw recently, probably after listening to us every day, they're giving some money, I think, to the Road Safety Council. But this is something that needs leadership on, and I think it has to start from the top. That we're very serious about what's happening on the roads, and something has to be done. But even how I see some of government ministers using the roadways,
Well,
right? Everybody
there
got a
was a case in
sirens,
which
and people just
one of the members of parliament actually hit down a child.
yeah.
There was that case also.
Yep. So the way we of ourselves use the road, and we cannot discount to a former minister in the PPP lost her life, Dr. Fox,
Yeah.
in a road
Desiree Fox,
accident.
yeah.
Right. So we got a long history of this road carnage, and we got to do better. I don't think we understand the science of how we use the roads, and
It's not the science. It's just basic.
common sense,
It's a culture. The culture is
culture,
that
and
you go
common
out there
sense.
and do basic nonsense because there is not a system in place that you are facing consequences to the actions. We often speak about the fact that we have bus drivers on the road with doing a barrage of nonsense, and their license are not revoked for any period of time,
Yeah.
and all of those things. So
Yeah.
where is the consequence to the action of ill use of the road
Yeah.
altogether? And that's what we're seeing there. But we have a lot to cover on that particular matter because over the weekend and even this morning, the papers are so saturated with fatalities. It's very sad.
Yep. So there's that happening in the morning papers. We're looking at the carnage on our roads. And then we're also covering Mr. Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley. His
Yeah.
comments on the Mr. Jagdew stating that Trinidad is falling apart. We're also talking about that. We see some of this covered in the morning papers too. And, Trinidadians are shocked. I think we even have some footage out of a Trinidad morning show showing Trinidad. The folks have been very livid in Trinidad about this issue.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that. What do you call it? Third railing politics, as it were, is like people would say, okay, Will and Jada,
Oh my gosh.
right?
How did we find our way back here?
I can bad talk my wife, but you don't do it. I can bad talk my spouse, right? If I'm venting, but the minute you start, oh, he's a dog with truth, we got some problems. She's a dog with truth, we got some problems, right? So Trinidad might know that the country going through, and every country got its phases, going through some trouble, but we want you tell we.
But when it comes to the issue,
If that is so.
well, that's. I think you made a reference to it when it was none other than LFS Boredom that said mind your own barnyard, basically, because yes, Trinidad, every country would have their own issues that they're facing, but we find it odd that Guyana, with all that's going on right now, is actually referring and making a reference to what to Trinidad in that manner instead of dealing with the crisis that we have home here right now.
Because when you look at it, we're too far behind. Because if you take apart the comments that was made by the installed vice president, talking about Trinidad depending on one sector alone, which is the oil and gas sector.
I think there was
Are we far behind?
I think it was Harris that had the illustration, that little cartoon illustration that showed for the budget that it was the oil sector that was fetching the entire budget, fetching it all together. So how dare you go there and make that comment?
It's just like a megalomaniac, you know. So be doing the same thing,
Yeah.
but you're gonna abusing down somebody
Yeah,
else
yeah.
for the same thing.
Every sector declining,
Right?
every single other sector.
Look at what's happening at GCOM, right? How they are rigging at GCOM. You have deferred local government elections, right? Because you know you're doing poorly out there, you don't want to go to the ballot. That's rigging too.
Because their own base
Right?
have been calling for the elections. So wait until
Yes.
local government elections. You know
Right?
that
But you keep deferring it, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, right? But you're going to condemn another man.
Yep.
That is the barefacedness. Look at things happening home. Jurita's economist here, a resident economist, and has been pointing out these numbers. Look at the non-oil GDP. How nice is that for us? Again, the oil sector fetching everything.
Every
right?
single
Look
thing.
at the production of sugar. They have to revise the production for 2022.
Yeah.
Downwards, not upwards,
Yep.
downwards. And they might fall far below even that
Correct.
revised figure. Look at rice production.
Yep.
Down. Right? Look at crime. You're talking about Trinidad. Look, we mess right. We got our own basket of issues. And we ain't got 30, 40 years
And look at
in
gold.
oil and gas like Trinidad.
And look at gold.
Right?
Let's look
at
at
least
those in
Trinidad
history.
can look around and you can see what we did. When you go to Trinidad, you think you're in a first world country. They could, and they had that vision, that 2020 vision, right? For first world status. When you look around Trinidad, you see what oil money is spent on. When people can go to university and government paying, you get your degree paid for by the state. The benefits and amenities. Look at what policemen are paid in Trinidad. If you're in the public sector in Trinidad, you're getting good. You're getting good. If you earning $3,000 any bank giving you a credit card, you got to put on house, land, car, all kind of thing here. Forget simple credit card. Trinidad went away years ago. Right? The amenities, the standard of living in Trinidad, things like cable, hot and cold water. Trinidadians pay light bill every other month. Every other month. Light, water, hot and cold water, cable and so on. Those are standard things in any household. If you're renting, that's not bougie living. That's ordinary people. Light, cable, water, and so forth. Hot and cold. That's standard.
Electricity is a luxury here to the point that the Prime Minister says to turn off your AC.
The electricity bill come every other month in Trinidad. I don't know if that's the way it's done still.
But I'm making a comparison to what's going on in Guyana. The fact that the Prime Minister is going out and telling people to like turn off your ACs.
To turn off your AC, you talking about Trinidad. We gotta, and this is a country that has had years of experience in oil and gas. We are a nascent oil and gas economy. And like we did right to Trinidad there. How we meet so fast in 2 years? Right? Depending on the one sector. So interesting.
It is most unfortunate that is going on. But there's a bit that is coming out. If we can go to the international news at this point.
We're on the trend, folks. We're on the trend.
As we go to the international news, there's a bit that I want to bring person's attention to, and I'm seeing it is in the Jamaica Observer. I'm taking that out to the Jamaica Observer this morning. That says CCJ a fatal path, young bud nano storm, as they are reporting it. They write, I find it very interesting. It said last Wednesday, the People's National Party Youth Organization welcomed news that both government and opposition agreed on Jamaica becoming a republic, right? So the youth organization then went on to advocate that Jamaica dispenses with the United Kingdom Council and in its place adopt a Trinidad-based Caribbean Court of Justice as the country's final court of appeal, but very interesting is that as the headline read, they're saying young bud no storm because they're saying here basically in the article that you think you're going to the CCJ and it is going to be all good, but you need to take the examples and look down the line as to what was being done by the CCJ and not go rushing into that direction. And Guyana, we have had our own bit of experience with the CCJ. I know something that happened quite recently when it comes to the Marcus Bishram issue that went to the CCJ, and a lot of persons were not happy with that ruling. albeit that the CCJ was saying that based on the law, this is how it should have been done, and the fact that our what's her name here, what's her name, Hack.
Shalimar Ali Haq, the DPP.
Shalimar, yes,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember her first name there. That she didn't have the jurisdiction to do what she did. Nevertheless, that it has been
but
this article is very critical of the CCJ altogether.
When you rationalize it, it makes perfect sense. The Shalimar Ali Haq thing.
Yes.
And you know, one of the things in law is that it's always law until it's tested in the courts.
Correct.
You know, what Parliament produces is always law until it's tested in the courts. Trinidad of itself recently had its first bail for murder. Somebody who's charged with murder in 100 years, the first time. Why? Because it was tested before the law. And what the court was saying is, what happened to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty? That's a fundamental part of the law. Innocence until proven guilty. And in fact, you're denying somebody bail says that you're going against, among a lot of other issues that was brought up there. So unless it is tested, it is always you know, sound coming out from Parliament until the law tests it. And we had quite a few instances here.
Well, and yes, we do have one that we're going to touch on a little bit later, with some court action being mulled at another aspect of something that was done in the National Assembly. But I find it very interesting that Jamaica has this article that is very critical of the
very
CCJ,
much so, very much so. And I think,
altogether.
I think when you go down a couple of paragraphs, folks, and you're free to peruse that on the Jamaica Gleaner. Was it Jamaica Jamaica Observer, the editorial yesterday. They talk about how courts can be influenced by events happening, by personalities, by politicians, corrupt people, right, who peddle in influence. And one of the points they were making in the article is that, you know, the Privy Council is far removed from the issues, right? And that is both a pro and a con, right? But the CCJ, quite strangely, has been very, very there's an asterisk, let's say that, over the CCJ.
You know, I'm trying to pick my words very carefully with this particular article.
When we see it, you hear APNU AFC partnership. And I don't forget, some people were trying to throw me under the bus when I said you gotta send the cliques and so on in the region among regional leaders. But why do we think they are immune from any of these things? It's politics. It's politics. And to see that article, and even Rowley over the weekend talk about who tries to influence the affairs in countries, right? Who, and even in that article, who knows who in the region, heads of state and all of that, and who talks to who about getting X and Y done and all of that. Who says the CCJ is immune to that? If your local courts of jurisdiction can succumb to pressures, right, to rule in a certain way and all that, what makes the CCJ different? These are human beings.
But all of those, I think what's important is that critique is out. I think it's important to know that no organization, especially these organizations, is immune to constructive criticism. They're not going out there and basically accusing the court of anything, but they're saying based on X, Y, Z, these are the opinions persons could form about the effectiveness altogether of the system. Right? So without going into any specific detail.
I'm trying to find my notes and I don't know. I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, but while Sherrod is finding his notes, you know, we had quite a few accidents over the weekend, like I said, and I'm just going to be giving you some highlights on those as we come to what's going on locally. And locally, we have a teen died in the Craig accident, right? And I believe that we should have some footage for that. I'm not sure if we
sad. Sachin Prasad. Right? Thoughts and prayers with his family and friends, loved ones.
Correct. And as and in addition to that, we had the cop died at a Lusignan accident. And then in addition to that, we had a Windsor Forest pedestrian died.
I think
right?
we're moving faster than the guys want to.
Yes.
hold on. Guys, but a lot of cars on the road.
A lot of road cars, and I want to get to 2 reports, hence I'm moving fast. But guys, do your thing from behind there.
I think we have some footage.
That is,
Yeah,
I mean, very disturbing, but
yeah.
it just goes to show what is going on our roadway right now. A
Again,
lot.
guys, arrive alive, slow down, be vigilant, be cautious as we use the roadways. And as Rita was pointing out, several other accidents over the weekend,
Correct.
several things are also being pointed out by the Ghana police force in relation to the carnage on our roads as well.
Well, I actually want to get into that one a bit because I found it interesting that we had the Guyana Police Force is saying that they recorded a 7% drop in fatal accidents, and they were referring. I'm pulling up the report right now, and the disclosure was made at the National Road Safety Stakeholders Forum held on Friday, March 25th. And basically, they're saying according to the statistics presented, there were 20 fatal accidents with 26 deaths from January 1 to March 24th, as compared to 24 fatal accidents with 25 deaths for the same period in 2021. So that period in 2021 had 25 deaths, but lo and behold, before they could, I think they should have actually, as old people, to say knock wood, because that was Friday, and as we're seeing it right now being reported in the papers, this was on the 26th, the very day after. Friday the 25th, that report was given. That report was supposed to represent the statistics up to the 24th, which is Thursday. But yet we have on the 26th in Starbuck News, it's been reported that there were 26 road deaths already recorded for 2022.
Wow.
So, some work needs to be done
Yeah.
there. So I think with that bit of updating of the statistics, it's going to eliminate that decrease altogether that they were looking at. And what I can also say is that it's not good for us to be saying at this point in time that last year we were at the same spot, 2021 period, right where we are here. So absolutely nothing was done within the year to make sure that we are better and less lives are lost
Yeah.
on the road. And it's
Yeah.
very
It's
important
also
for us
said
to
that
note
something
that.
was done that wasn't effective too.
Well, I didn't note anything that was
Which means
done.
nothing was done. Basically, because if what you did had no impact,
Yes.
then where
Well,
are we?
well, actually, I want to say that I didn't see anything that was done because, yes, persons go out there and they say this is supposed to be done and that is supposed. But what I think statistics that needs to come forward is how many persons are being charged, how many persons are being charged, was charged in 2021 for reckless driving, dangerous driving, and those things, as opposed to how many persons have been charged thus far for the same crimes. Because if you don't have consequences, this is going to continue. We have been speaking, guys, we've been speaking about this every single day because it's human lives are being lost, and it's a very serious matter altogether. So we just can't treat it as another person got knocked down. It's too many persons. It's a very small country.
Yeah.
So as we
Yeah.
move forward in the trend, we're looking at, it says the environmentalists flagged the EPA non-disclosures of the new Demerara Bridge project ahead of hearing on challenge to waiver.
Too many secrets.
I,
Too many secrets
I,
we got. Too many secrets. And it's been what activists and commentators and stakeholders in the industry have been talking about. Too many secrets you could never know. They don't want to let us know the secret deals that are happening. We to this date, we don't know the fullness of, for instance, the Sputnik V deal with the Shady Sheikh, right? Dalmud Al Maktoum. We don't know everything. The opposition would have posed questions to the National Assembly, to the government, still gone unanswered. Aramco, that is supposed to be marketing our oil. We still don't know what are the terms of that deal with Aramco to market our oil. And lots of these projects that are coming on board with the environmental safeties that are needed, whether it is the EIAs or similar mechanisms that are in place for your health and your safety, not only for human life but for your biodiversity and all of that. You don't know. You just don't know, and it's the secrecy about it. They're always promising, oh, we're going to put it up on this website. We're gonna put it up on that website. It never happens.
Well, I just want to make note at this point in time when it comes to the bridge project. I want to remind persons, because I think a lot of times we got to keep reminding people of the train of events that have been transpired. When it comes to the bridge, persons need to remember that it was in the interview with Isabella Young and Barajagio that we learned that the talks that they were having was halted, and that they were no longer engaged in conversation, negotiations about that project. And then now we're learning that the company that is doing the Mile Falls project is a company that is that they're in discussions with when it comes to that bridge. Again, all very haphazard pieces of information. As the article says, it said ahead of hearing this week on the challenge to the decision by the EPA against requiring an environmental study for the new Demerara Harbor Bridge. Environmentalist Simone Mangal-Jolly has reported that a regulatory body has failed to provide critical information needed to make a decision on the project.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been saying all along. So again, we want to emphasize and reinforce the point that we've been making these very same arguments, but it's always nice to see when you have the experts come in and they're saying the very same things that we've been saying every single week.
Very well.
Yep.
Very well. And more transparency is needed. You know, you can never have too much light in this instance here.
Yep.
In this, more transparency is needed. The information needs to be out there. This sector belongs to who? It's the Guyanese people, or it's to the government? It's to the PPP? Who does it belong to?
But it seems questionable when we have all of those things being the way in which they do things. It would appear that the current administration believe that they owe no one any explanation, and the operators, though they're spending their personal money when going out and actually doing things on behalf of the people of this country.
Exactly. And so instead of talking about Trinidad, perhaps we should be discussing these issues, right? Whatever happened to post-cabinet briefings?
That was a coalition thing.
Cabinet press briefings. Whatever happened to that?
That was
and
a
from the
coalition
same
thing.
folks who used to say, "Oh, Granger don't like me the press."
Yeah.
Right? Granger, them not talking about what's happening, but yet we had post-cabinet briefings every week.
There's a difference to, and people should take note, there's a difference to the politics that the way in which the PPP interact with it. PPP interact with the press 90% of the time or more when they're putting out propaganda, things that they just want, making promises. But they don't engage the press when when it comes to decisions that have been made at the level of cabinet. That those are concrete things that are coming out. That's a decision forum altogether. So yes, they're going to go and they're going to go to meetings and they say this is what we're going to do. But if they don't go in cabinet and make those decisions in there, then those talks that they had outside means nothing if the decision isn't made in there. There's a whole lot, and it goes to show the weightiness of the engagement altogether. It would say that the coalition had a more weighty engagement because whatever was said post-cabinet briefings were concrete things. This is what was coming out. These are decisions that was made, not someone just going haphazardly and making promises that some things that they know they can't fulfill, especially in timeline that they give that they're going to fulfill them in.
Which kind of makes me wonder, what's up with all these promises of reset? The Region 2 outreach, the Region 10 outreach. We just had a budget last month. It's not a case whereby you are going into a budget period, and so you know that there's monies there to do stuff, or there will be monies there for another, set of allocation. You just finished budgeting, right? And you now come like Father Christmas. Is this how you would run like a house? You budget and then you go and spread. So, kids, I can give you however you want, right? It is bizarre to me. Last month we passed a national budget. And why wasn't some of these things that clearly are not emergency in nature didn't crop up?
Yeah.
Right? A school bus, 2 wells, $1 billion in roads. How come they didn't make the budget?
Well, Lennon has a lot to look into, because I was checking in with the representatives in Linden as it pertains certain boards that was supposed to be set up for money that was in the budget for Linden and for development there, and the people would not have gotten the money if the boards wasn't set up. So I would be checking in to see if the boards were actually set up, because that was one of the questions that I asked Ashley Singh in the budget. So it's one thing to tell people that you're going to do something for them, but then if you don't have the actions to back it up, it just goes as a talk shop altogether, like what was done with the cane cutters when it comes to the sugar industry.
And that's part of the big question we're gonna be dealing with.
Yeah.
The big issue we're gonna be dealing with this morning. Yep.
Well, as we move on, another thing that we see trending this morning: cops find over 37 pounds of ganja on the Tugville teen's bed. My gosh, over 37,
No comments.
over 37 pounds of ganja under a Tugville teen's bed.
I think he was just trying to gain experience for the hemp industry, just trying to gain experience on farming, as the president says.
This is
Oh, it's a girl. The guys are saying it's a girl.
okay.
Right?
So it says
Even better.
I just want to
We need more women in farming.
interesting. It says
Yeah.
19-year-old marketing clerk.
Go, see what I'm telling you about? The experience. She needs to know how to market
Marketing clerk.
hemp and so on. later on.
19-year marketing clerk was arrested yesterday morning after a search of at her Tugville, Georgia home unearthed over 37 pounds of cannabis hidden under her bed. So
It's research.
well, I said it before. I'm going to say it again. When none other than Irfan Ali go out there and say that these people have the technical experience, and he's going to be meeting with farmers of marijuana farmers and those things. When you make those statements, what message are you sending out there for the young people in this country? You give the idea. How do you even say something like that as the head of state in a country? How do you say something like that? I'm going to be meeting with the marijuana farmers. How?
He's going to be meeting with her shortly.
Right. So how? So now you have a young person here. She probably thinks that she's going to be
meeting with the president.
Called
shortly.
upon.
Yeah.
To meet with
She's
the
gathering
president.
evidence.
Gathering evidence.
Yeah. Gathering evidence.
But the young people, I just want to put out this caution. I always put out the caution, and I always say, young people, make sure that you don't get yourself involved in this, because when you face the heat, the people that are at the very top that you are working for, those persons are living comfortable, lavish lifestyle while you're facing the heat and facing jail time. So be very careful. Don't get yourself involved in these things. It's too dangerous. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Cheryl McKenzie, we see you there. Loretta Argyle, and is it Winnie or Winnie Bias? Brenda Bradford, Veronica, Primo Rollins, folks. Thanks for tuning in to FYI. Those of you who are now joining us, we're on the trend, folks. We're on the trend. What else do we have?
So someone said that sounds like a setup. To me, that's what I was thinking too. Just not randomly somebody runs into your house.
What happened at the Oscars?
Checking on the.
What happened at the Oscars? Right,
what setup?
Here.
What setup?
Set piece. Moving along.
All right, as we move along, we're looking the headline that reads rape accused taxi driver found guilty of attack on sex worker. Rape accused taxi driver found guilty on attack of sex worker. Now let me tell you, this story happened almost a year ago, I believe. I think it was February over a year ago. It was February last year that this matter came up. One of the most vile, brutal account that was spelled out in so many newspapers. The print press dealt with it extensively. And the taxi driver, Trustin Simple, he was charged with multiple rapes, and he was, I believe it was on Thursday, found guilty at his first trial before the High Court, and is now awaiting sentences. Right, it's by a majority verdict of 10-2, a jury found Simple guilty of raping a sex worker between February 24th and 25th of last year. There was a lot of discussion. Personally, if you could recall, there was a lot of discussions around this particular issue last year, because this was a taxi driver that literally picked up this young woman and took her to his home, and he was said to, well, her account of it said that he was paying her $10,000 for sex. She's a sex worker. And then when he got aggressive and all of those things, she told him to keep the money. She's just going to leave. And at that point, he took a knife and held it to her throat and started forcing her to do certain things that I can discuss on this morning show. And then she barely escaped with her life, in which she jumped through a window without any clothes on. And he pursued her and then started beating her in the yard. The person's on the road tried to come to her defense. She had to jump over the fence without any clothes on. and then persons were able to give her aid outside the yard. And I mention it because the neighbors said after all of that transpired that there were endless different times that they heard women screaming from within that particular home, and no one knew what we used to go on there. But as I'm saying here,
That's the fellow need a punch in the face.
right? He don't need
Among
a
other
punch.
things.
He needs to be locked away for life.
That too.
Like he needs
That too.
psychiatric evaluation.
Yeah.
He needs to be locked away for life. And I know a lot of persons had made there was a lot of public outbursts on that particular matter, because there were instances prior to that he was before that he went to the I'm not sure the level of the court, but I know that reports were made about him and sexual harassment prior to that. And because the system did not work for women then, other women fall prey to that individual. So I'm glad to see that the system is playing its part here, and that he has been found guilty of the crime.
I hope you're happy in prison.
Yep.
Them boys have nice time.
Well, it is. I'm
Them
very
boys have nice
happy.
time.
I'm very happy about the results of that. What he said. Cher's going to take this part for you.
What he said. This is what they said. If we got it right, it's Starbuck News. I think we pick it up from Starbuck News editorial, and they were talking here about the dismissal of the Food and Drug Director, the government analyst, Food and Drug Department, the director, Dr. Yeah, and according to the article, again, according to the article, it says here that targeting of public officials. This is back in the news. The dismissal of potentially the dismissal of Dr. Cole, all right, Dr. Marlon Cole, and the editorial says targeting of public servants who discharge their functions professionally and are not inclined to be directed by politicians has been a well-established malignancy here. The recent example of Dr. Vincent Adams at Environmental Protection Agency is a case in point, and the PPP administration must not be allowed to get away with targeting public servants who are doing their jobs only for them to be substituted, right, with place persons who are malleable to political directions. And so this is important because you see a whole slew of this recently, right? Dr. Rudy, the guy from ETI, the Extractive Industries Oversight Body, right? Rudy Jadupat, Dr. Rudy Jadupat was removed quite recently.
The technical expert.
The technical expert, in addition to Dr. Vincent Adams. Recently, we learned also that Dr. Util Thomas was removed from the Ministry of Health Mental Health Unit. Suddenly, and she was dismissed, as a matter of fact. And now she has been called back to work and reassigned. So that's the point today's Starbuck News editorial is making. How government moving out, as you said, technical people, the experts, and putting in some political hats. Dr. Prem Mazir is going to replace Dr. Rudy Janapat at the ETI. Dr. Prem Mazir is a mouthpiece for the PPP. He's a supporter and a member of the PPP. Now, ETI has oversight. Now, government can't provide oversight to government. That's like Ashley Singh's wife at the former, which department it was, giving oversight to the, I think she was part of the, what do you call it, the Auditor General's office, giving oversight to the AG, to...
She was what?
She's part of the Auditor General's office.
Was?
Well, was or is.
Is.
Right? Giving oversight to...
Second in charge.
Giving oversight to Ministry of Finance, spending and so on. It's madness.
Giving oversight to Ashley Singh.
Giving oversight to Ashley Singh. It's madness. Right? So that's the crux of it. You're moving out qualified people. For who? For what? I mean, if you have issues with people, let it be dealt with in the right way. If y'all feel like Marlon, what's his name, is a pain in the neck, then there are ways to go about. If he's not doing his job, that's the point I'm making. If he's not doing his job correctly, right, then there's ways of doing that. If Dr. Vincent Adams has not been doing his job correctly, right, but when you have a man removed You didn't even say why. Why all of a sudden everybody say this is a demotion, but you calling it something else, some lateral movement someplace.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Putin called the war in Ukraine something else too.
And you know what is strange? In lots of these instances, I want to put this on the table. In lots of these instances, is black people being removed.
Our
right?
country.
Right? And you call it all kinds of names, but it has a certain complexion to it.
Yeah. Well,
political and otherwise.
The sad reality is the divide in Guyana. You know, the more you realize it is, the more disgusting it is with the political divide in our country and how it is, and not only the political, but the race divide in our country and the way in which it is fueled through these actions. Right?
Freddie Kissoon, before Freddie Kissoon got old and dotish, wrote a seminal paper on race relations in this country.
I think and it showed it was 2010 he referred to.
Yes, it was 2010. Yeah. It showed how the PPP systematically removed Afro-Guyanese from positions of influence, even in sectors where Afro-Guyanese were dominating. For instance, the public sector.
Well, it's strange enough that he wrote that paper, and then the paper was actually, I think he was challenged in court because of comments made in that
the government was racist,
right? And he presented some facts that's very interesting for persons to go through.
Very interesting
who was removed and who replaced
and
them.
Showed in every sector, every sector, how the dominance and you know we are all brothers and sisters in this country, and in the region. We were all brothers and sisters. But when one race gets favored over others, whether it's black people, it's Chinese people, it's Portuguese people, when one race, you know, we were meant to rule, that is racism.
Yeah.
That is racism. And when you trace it, you will see systematically how people came into huge windfalls, right, over others, right? Vindhya Prasad, brother Vishu, who owns that that enterprise, e-networks and so on, started out as a government IT technician on the PPP.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
The president himself installed Irfan Ali, was 33. He had a big mansion. How he got a mansion? Lands for Gaisuko, sold at on the market value price, right? And you can go step by step and see how PPP divided up this country among just a few.
Naomi says she ain't gonna pretend she didn't hear Sherrod say Freddie get old and dotish.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Old and dotish. Because when you read that and you read what is written currently,
correct.
Freddie still stick in March 2nd, 2020, you know. Freddie writes about nothing else in this country. Nothing else concerns him.
Like I have some comments about
March 2nd, 2020, and he died.
I have some comments about Freddie that I don't even share. Sometimes I believe that it's just necessary to just leave him alone in a corner because
moving along.
Because of his.
But it's of concern. You see, Doctor.
Articles right now.
You tell Thomas, the head of the mental health unit. I don't know if she told the PPP that the mental health needs to be in check, but they move her, and now they have called her back because they dismissed her, and now they've called her back and post her in some health clinic.
I want to make a point
on the East Coast. Some clinic on the East Coast.
I want to make this point.
Make your point. Really.
And I've made a point before, but sometimes you got to keep repeating things for people to understand what you're saying. When it comes to the public sector altogether and removing persons that are qualified, right? The PPP is in office, and now we've had several discussions over and over again as to the fact that these institutions that we have in the country, the ones that are supposed to be functioning are not functioning. Some of them have not been instituted altogether, but the ones that have personnel attached to it, they go in and they remove persons, the technical experts, and they put in their political hacks. Because of that, the institutions them are now crippled altogether, and they are not making any sound decisions, so they're not functioning as they should. But the point that I want to make is that I did a master's in public administration from the University of Guyana, and I found it interesting that when I went and I did my master's, persons that did these studies would know that once you're doing a master's in public administration and a master's in business administration, you have a lot of the courses are the same courses, but then they're three distinct courses that you do to separate public administration from business administration, right? And I found it interesting, and I actually spoke to several lecturers about it, that when the classes were separated in that final year, when the courses were very distinct, all of the persons in that was doing public administration with me, everyone else was Afro-Guyanese except me. Right, and it just goes to show who is qualifying themselves in the country in terms of public administration, in terms of managing the public sector.
Which is the point that the Freddie Kissoon paper was making.
Yep.
That in the public sector, Afro-Guyanese dominate because they
go and qualify themselves. That's what they do.
And Freddie showed that even though the majority of people, at least on the PPP rule, who were in the public sector was headed by Indo-Guyanese, who weren't as qualified in most instances. And it's a complaint we get every single day. Right now, people complain that for a promotion, for instance, you're being told you can't get a promotion, but the person the PP bring in to give the promotion to you got train them. You can't get a promotion. You don't qualify for it, but you got to train the person who they bring in to get the promotion.
Well,
and if that's not disrespectful, right, and warranting a box in your face, well, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
right.
It is very serious. I think that's something that needs to be looked at. If you have people qualifying themselves in terms of that level, at the master's level, to go and head various aspects in government, then
not only to head, as part of wanting to upward mobility.
But not only that,
But then you never get a chance because somebody comes over you who are not qualified like that.
If you go to the various government agencies right now, you would find people that did master's courses in University of Guyana, graduated with masters in public administration,
but
that are not at the helm of those organizations. Got people that never did it. That's at the end of the organization. I mean, I get upset about those things.
Let me call names.
Call names, man.
One of them came before the Public Accounts Committee, before you. May Thomas got a diploma in something, I don't know, but a woman she has replaced got a master's degree to BPS. And it showed us because when May, unfortunately, who seemed not to be interested too much in the public service, came before the committee, she couldn't answer any questions.
None at all.
She kept just deferring it to her subordinates. Right? And that means something. The person who you replace with a diploma has a master's degree, has spent their life in the public service. And you come, and what do you get for it? You got what was displayed before the committee.
You get incompetence. That's what you get.
You get what was displayed for the and it must count for something, And I think I was watching somebody recently, I think it was Noah, whatever his name is, was talking about the fact when we tell people, Trevor Noah, go and study, and taking an education and you're going to be successful. And the point he was making is more than that. Because a lot of people went and studied successful in the public service, for instance. Master's degree, but trapped in a department because somebody over them feel, you just come and you think it's it. Right? But I got 2 master's degrees to my name. What doing? Right? You understand people fly to this country?
No, but it begs the question as to there's all this talk about scholarships and giving scholarships out to persons right now. It begs the question as to how those persons are going to be treated and dealt with at the level of the public service when they have studied. Because if nothing else, the government can give scholarship that they are not putting high value on when it comes to jobs within the public sector.
That is the tragedy. Right? It used to be something back in the day to be a PS. Look at the PS for labor, for instance. Whatever his name is. Used to be a colleague of mine at City Hall, right? No qualification to speak of, but he's PS of a whole ministry like that. Where we going as a country? Right? Service to party is one thing, but we at least be qualified. At least be qualified. I mean, like, what is the minimum criteria to be a to be a permanent secretary? What would you deem as the minimum qualification? Is it a first degree? Is it 5 years in the public sector? Is it 10? What would be the minimum qualification? Right? And that is why you're not seeing people able to perform at a certain high level.
But that's why I made a point. If persons would remember, I believe if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Ashni Singh and someone else that was speaking about bringing persons your pay up to scale with your qualification. And I made a point and I said, so how are they going to be treated with their PS that is less qualified than the PS? It's subordinates, right? So you're going to pay the subordinates more than the PS?
There's an exemption there. You bring the pay up to par with the post. You pay up to par with the post.
Right?
But folks,
They didn't think that
we have a
much
way
of-
to go. We have a way to go.
Well, I'm getting a little bit of local breaking news. I don't know. I'm yet to unconfirm reports. I must say I'm reading here that the Bells were voted out of the Speedboat Association yesterday.
The Bells in Bartica.
Unanimously. So this is the Bells in Bartica, folks. You know, Sherrod has been I think Sherrod labeled it the real Bells.
The real
of
Bells in
Bartica.
Bartica.
So I'm being informed here, unconfirmed reports, I must say, that the Bells were voted out of the Speedboat Association yesterday unanimously.
That would mean, right?
This is
That if you do foolishness, you must be voted out.
Yep.
Right? If you corrupt, you must be voted out. Right? How you could be holding on to a post and you going and fighting down, cussing down the whole of Bartica?
Yep.
That's madness.
How can you not be voted out when you had this big fight that resulted because you were completely discarding the association system, and that was the whole thing. And I'm being informed that Lashley Gomes is the new president of the association. I know Lashley Gomes really, really well, very much of a credible individual, and I say congratulations to you, Mr. Lashley Gomes, on being elected the new president of the Bartica Speedboat Association. I'm so happy about this bit of news. You know, Barticians are going to be happy, and all other persons.
Hope it is replicated nationally. Moving on, folks. Moving on. Welcome those of you who now join the broadcast. Share the live stream. Smash the emoji button. Are we at Will Smith yet? Are we there yet?
Person of interest. Guys, Sherrod is going to be taking the segment of person of interest
It
today.
was staged. This whole Will Smith slapping of Christopher Rock business. It was staged. Christopher Rock was never surprised 1 minute. This was rehearsed. It was scripted. It was staged. Over to you, Jerita. I know theater when I see it. And Hollywood, that was theater.
Okay. First of all, there is a lot going on there.
It was a slap, Richard. What a lot.
There is a lot going on there. Let us not pretend that was just a slap. And Will Smith
I think we have some. I think we have some video. Let us start from there.
Let's start from there.
So the viewing public could decide for themselves, and you'll see it was staged. You will agree it was staged.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay.
So Sherrod is of the ill-informed conclusion. Sherrod has the ill-informed conclusion that it was staged, but for the rest of us that observed this footage from an unbiased point of view, we know that it was not staged, right? Let me just tell you, right?
Chris Rock's career just got a second wind. His career just got a second wind there. I just know the red table just got a second wind there. And Will Smith just only happened to have a book out that might not be doing so well.
Will Smith had a book out?
Yep.
Which book was that?
Will Smith has a book out currently.
Name what? About what?
But his life.
About his life?
Yes.
Yes. Well, Sherrod is of the
Interesting enough.
opinion that those things, that it was a stage
Interestingly
response,
enough.
given the fact that in Hollywood, and let's be very realistic about what is going on right now. Everyone is talking about it.
What was
Everyone,
what
no
was
one
the G.I.
knew.
Jane reference?
But the G.I. Jane's reference that they were doing, that was made, was basically because of Jada and the fact that she shaved her head. But the upsetting part was that she shaved her head because of a medical condition in which she was starting to lose her hair. And the condition, I can't remember the direct name of her condition, but it was when your immune system started attacking your hair follicles and making your hair inflammation, forming your hair fall out. So because of that, she shaved her head. And that comment about G.I. Jane, Will just wasn't, well, not Will wasn't having it. I want to say that I am of the opinion that it was not staged, basically based on the initial responses, And Chris Rock made a joke. Will found it extremely funny. He was laughing and cared with everyone else. But then when he looked across and saw the emotion on his wife's face, he went up there and did something different there. There's so much that you can hide and
So
pretend,
much Hollywood,
right? There's so much that you can hide and pretend, but that
my
was
thing
not
is there.
staged.
My thing is this. Now, G.I. Jane, if you guys saw that old movie with Demi Moore,
Yeah.
I think, was a woman in the U.S. Army who had to really prove herself.
Yeah, prove her worth.
Prove her worth.
Mhm.
She was a strong woman. As being, I think, I can't remember what was, I know it wasn't medical. What was the reason that led to her head being shaved? Whether was some men who were pranking her and shaved her hair. I can't remember exactly what. I know it wasn't medical,
Mhm.
but had to shave her hair. But the character is a very strong one.
Yeah.
So what was disparaging if you had said, like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia? Tom Hanks in Philadelphia had HIV. HIV was new then, back in the early 90s, and we didn't know much about it. And here was this guy struggling with HIV, lost all his friends and all of that. In the G.I. Jane reference, is not to somebody who has a medical condition, but just somebody who had a bald head. But it was a strong female character.
Yeah.
So what was so innately offensive about that? And to me, the fact that initially Will Smith himself didn't find it offensive,
Yeah.
in itself, to me, is striking.
Well, I just want to
No
throw.
pun
I
intended.
just want to throw the name because alopecia. That's the name
Right.
of the sickness that Jada is reported to have. And I want to say this right now that I never heard of that prior to having to go read it this morning because of what transpired at the Oscars there. I never heard of that particular illness before. So that's another level of bringing awareness to that altogether. But I hear
I
you.
can see a foundation coming.
No, there's
I can see the Jada Foundation coming
alopecia.
based on this, and also
But you could.
here,
No.
here,
I want
here,
stick a pin. Listen.
pin stuff.
I will not say, and I will not dispute that things are going to come after. You can very well see a foundation being set up when it comes to
If it
bringing
hasn't been
awareness.
set up already.
If it wasn't set up already, more light being shined on that, because like it or not, the world is interested at this moment of this particular illness, and the world is interested in Jade, and the world is interested in the round table the red table discussion, and the world is interested now. You're saying Will has a book also, but all of that
The very name is the very and here's what it affords this conversation on Will's book, the name of which is Will.
Right. Well, good for him, But all of those things can, as in my view, are just consequences to what transpired there. And I want to say at this point, in no way that that particular response there, it shows that there are still issues between with Will and Jada, because nobody goes there all jolly and laughing and just runs up on the stage and slaps somebody. It just doesn't happen like that. So it shows that there's a lot more to that whole a lot more conversation we're gonna hear around it. And I guess
I think a lot of people got to read up on G.I. Jane and see if the reference as a comedians make jokes.
Yeah.
That's the nature of it.
No,
You
but in
don't
that
go
split
to
second, you don't analyze all of those things. You just think about the hair being cut.
Comedians make joke. It's like going to nothing to laugh about and being upset with something that they say about you as a public person. Why then do you go? Because you know they see you, they can say something about you, and then you get upset, and then you want to censor the program, and you don't want, that kind of thing. If you go to the Oscar, chances
everybody
are
is not like you. Listen.
chances are something might be said about you. And the fact of the matter that Will Smith was laughing through it until he saw Jada's face.
Yes.
Right? And maybe Jada said, this is the same thing I talked to you about. You don't stand up for me.
Exactly.
Right? That is why the entanglement happened, because you never stand up for me publicly. And I want a stronger man than just
oh my
a man
God,
on
Sharon,
camera.
you're serious right now?
Right? Maybe all of that, because I'm wondering why in that split second things went from 0. Clearly, Will was having a good time to 60.
Mm-hmm.
All because of how Jada made her face.
Yes.
Right? This is like a parent and you having fun, but when your parent make a face, you know what I mean. Right? And clearly Will Smith knows what the please box this fella for me face is. Right? Clearly.
Oh
right?
my God.
It's the very same reason Steve Harvey says he doesn't do stand-up comedy anymore. He says because you're at a point in the US now where everybody's sensitive about everything. You can't make a joke without offending somebody somewhere. You make a joke about for the animal rights people. You make a joke about the environment is something. You make a joke about white people, black people. Everybody just touchy now.
Okay.
Right? And here, typical kids.
Well, Sherrod is a rare commodity in this time because I think Sherrod takes hits every day from
every day. It's just the nature of being on front. If I gotta take offense at everybody who says something about me, right? I can be able to coach step. But it's like what Rowley said yesterday, the Prime Minister of Trinidad, on Saturday. He says, a lot of people say a lot of things about us.
Yeah.
Right? But thankfully, most of them say good things.
Yes.
And you move on. But I don't think the G.I. Jane reference warrants that. If you know the character G.I. Jane, and the character was played by Demi Moore.
But you're thinking too much into this. You have the time. You had the time.
No, but
think about it after.
But Will Smith too, I think, is an intelligent person. You in Hollywood.
No, not like that.
And clearly they knew what the G.I. Jane reference meant. If the G.I. Jane reference was to a sick, decrepit woman.
It had everything. No. You're overthinking this. Listen, the G.I. Jane reference and the immediate interpretation that Jada had was the interpretation that everyone got. The immediate interpretation is that, Jada, her head is shaved and G.I. Jane head was shaved. And that was the reference.
So
that was it, nothing else.
So what is so offensive about a woman's with a shaved head?
Well, that's
what is suddenly offensive about that?
Yes, it is offensive when a woman didn't shave her head because she willingly wanted to have a shaved head, but she shaved her head because of an ailment that she was losing her hair. So that is the offensive part. Okay, Sharon Duncan. So, guys. Oh my goodness. So that is it.
G.I. Jane. Who knew Demi Moore? Demi Moore will make a comeback. G.I. Jane.
Yeah, that was it. And he found it funny, but then when he realized that she did not find it funny, it hit a chord with her, he went up there and he dealt a slap. I mean, Chris Rock, Chris Rock took that slap like a boss.
I still say the whole thing was staged because of all the reasons you point out. And everything that gets a boost coming out of this. Chris Rock's career, Jada's foundation for her sickness.
Alopecia, yes.
Will's book will get a bounce. Watch and see how Will's book go to the top of the New York Times bestseller.
But you know what was interesting?
That's good PR.
You know what was my thinking? I just want to stick this in before we close off on this topic. What was interesting to me is that at the level of the Oscars and all of these things, you would expect to have a security set up, a security
that somebody just can't walk on stage.
Somebody
like
can't just walk on stage and bring a slap at you, right?
Yeah.
So it goes to show that there's a lot of loopholes there when it comes to security of those celebrities within.
Unless it was staged.
Right? There's a lot. No. It shows that they are securing persons prior to them going into the building, but there's not much security in there when it comes to securing persons, because a lot of those persons are feud among each other.
It's interesting,
and animosity among each other.
that Jada had an entanglement and that guy didn't get a slap.
The man was hurt.
It's interesting.
The man was hurt.
Not as hurt as last night.
No, he was hurt. He was angry there, but you know, those
He wasn't as angry.
That's a different
wasn't angry then.
conversation, guys. I'm not gonna get
He
into
wasn't angry
that.
then.
Right? For
It's
me,
interesting, though.
entanglements and all those things, you
It's
know,
a different kind of hurt.
You
It's a
know,
hurt that-
polygamous and relationships and all of those things that people refer to as modern ways, and so don't mix me. Let me tell you, don't mix me in it. Well, I'm with somebody, I'm with them, they're with me. Anybody else come in the picture, it's time to end the whole relationship and be done with it.
In this now. Go
Right?
on.
No, because all of these conversations are being had because, you know, there was this whole thing with the entanglement. She referred to it as that. And persons are like, oh, well, modern persons more, well, what is the word that is used a lot? More liberal minds have ways in which they go about relationship. For me, like I'm saying, don't mix me, right? I don't care what people say. Don't mix me in that. I'm sorry.
What is going to be, what is going to be big ratings and billing? Take my advice. Take my word for it. When Chris Rock is brought to the red table.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, someone said they called it. Someone was saying that they call it at the next Oscars that Will and Chris is going to be hosting together, right? Someone said that they're calling that in advance. But like I'm saying, a lot of things.
Folks, Hollywood is like politics. There are no permanent what? There are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends.
Yes, no
just
permanent
interest.
Yes,
and
correct.
A lot of interest colliding with a slap. A lot of interest. I know politics when I see it. A lot of interest colliding with a slap.
But we have a lot. We spent a lot of time on this. Listen, Sheriff's not going to move from his position. I'm not going to move from my position. He said it was staged. I said it was not staged. You say whatever.
They were on the stage, and it was staged. Prime time, the whole world watching.
So that's the whole thing by itself. But guys, we need to touch on the big issue we've already.
Believe it or not, that's
not a big issue.
Believe it or not. Big things happening.
What a big issue, obviously.
Because Lyndon just got a slap. Whether or not you all know it, y'all just get slapped.
That's more than a slap. That's just total disrespect.
Slap in the face to Lyndon.
Right. So the big issue, we see high cost of a living crisis, and we continue to use the word crisis, and the government has been using the word crisis as well. PPP administration, they are using the word crisis as well. So, you know, strange enough that they're saying we have crisis here, but they condemn other people. But that's another discussion. So it's a government regional outreaches, and we've been noting some of the things that are going on at the regional outreaches. One of the things to note in particular is what went on in Linden and the promise that was made yesterday. Sherrod, what do you take of that?
I think it was staged. It was staged. Now, quite interestingly, after Region 2, that Linden would be the next place that they go. After Region 2. Right, and I don't know if the guys have that map we've been working on, that we would have articulated what was giving out in Region 2. But we can walk through some of the things. Region 2 after budget was presented last month, folks. Last month a budget was presented, right? And it's either those things in Region 2 that were giving out Region 2 were in the budget or they weren't, right? And it would go to very bad, poor planning, poor budgeting, and all of that. Some of these things are not emergencies, like $1 billion in roads, for instance. Like, how do you miss all those roads in Region 2 that need fixing to the tune of $1 billion?
Incompetence.
Right? That you don't budget for it last month.
Incompetence at the regional level.
Right?
And the national level.
That amount of money is like you say, you budget for your house, but you don't put in nothing for the rent, like bill, water, nothing. Then we really budget for $1 billion in roads.
Budget for under the table benefits. You're asking the questions I'm asking.
2 water treatment plant. Like, how do you miss that in a budget? They say, oh, shucks, boy, we can get in these 2 plants. Let me go and get them it now.
Yes.
How do you miss that? Right? How do you miss in a budget providing jobs? 800 jobs, for instance, part-time or full-time. For the region, the budget was last month. And Ashley will tell you, oh, the staff at the office here, do hours of preparations and talking with this body and consulting and this and that.
No, the staff don't talk and consult.
Right?
The staff
So they
do
got
the staff
eight-
do their administrative work, and I'd say the staff do their administrative work and leave it as that. But when it comes to the politics, the policies, actually the direction of these particular projects, those things come from the regional level and from the government officials altogether.
800 jobs,
Part-time jobs.
2 water treatment plants. They're getting 250 small businesses will get loans. What else they're getting? I think I saw a school in there somewhere, or a school bus,
But it's not a school.
right? Something there about. And you know,
None of that in the budget.
the guys are watching. So clearly a school bus cannot be an emergency.
Yeah.
Clearly, because we went to school for a little while. We had a little while to forecast, to look and see what happening, right? And if 2022 budget was the biggest ever at $552.9 billion, and we left out all this thing, we're really in the budget.
Yeah.
Where is money really going if all these things left out? So you gone to Linden now, and all I see from Linden is a new Wismar Mackenzie Bridge, which was already being budgeted for by the last administration. So we could put an asterisk over that. 250 $250 million, 250 small business grants. There's that. And then they say 800 jobs too.
Part-time.
Part-time jobs. Again, well, I miss a couple billions there, right? One to the roads.
Yeah.
Right? We roads that matter? Or you're saying we budgeted sufficiently already for roads there? You know, I see people saying what happened to money that can be poured into LEN, because LEN was the agency that did a lot of heavy lifting for grants and small business capacity building and all of that. But LEN got 150 million or 200 million dollars under the last administration. That didn't happen this time. As a matter of fact, just last week, some of the Linden Entrepreneurial Network folks walked off the job because they haven't been paid in months. So what about fixing that problem first, right? And lots of other things that go to the working of the municipality and the township of Linden and the region on just a regular basis. Getting those things to function efficiently, just on a regular basis, before you bring the extras, right? But clearly, if you weigh item by item between the two regions, right? Clearly, the two regions aren't the same. So this kind of pretends that there is equity in the distribution of wealth and all that. This is a set piece.
Well, in addition to that, I will tell the folks in Linden to note that that Barjagda never said he was given 800 part-time jobs to Linden. He didn't say he was given 250 the small business grants to Linden. He said he was giving it to Region 10. And I challenge you to follow very, very closely if whatever percentage of that is actually done, where it is going to be done and where it is going to start, what parts of the region is going to be benefiting from those little announcements first, and what percentage of those plans would actually come into actual being, right? So just make a note of that. So a lot of times persons think that when these things are being said, you go to Linden, you gather people from Linden, they're on that tent, and you said we're going to be given 800, we're going to be providing 800 part-time jobs for Region 10, right? Those persons there, you know, some people interpret it as 800 part-time jobs for Linden and fail to realize that the PVP, when they're dealing with regions that was won by the coalition, what they do is they go into communities, little pockets within those communities that they have supporters in, and they make sure that their resources are directed to those particular communities. So I just want to put that out there first and foremost. And I would further say that saying that you're going to provide 800 part-time jobs within 3 weeks, you know, it's some kind of, I don't want to choose my words carefully, but I want to say that let's follow it. Let's check in with you 3 weeks from this announcement as to how this is going, right? Let's check in with that, because that is what the heading, and this is Newsroom is announcing it like that, headline: 800 jobs to Region 10 residents in 3 weeks. All right. So we're going to be looking specifically at that, and I'm going to say at this point in time, more concrete measures, more sustainable development measures need to be put in place in order for you to actually tackle the rising costs of living in this country, and not going and say you're going to give 800 part-time jobs. That's not how it works.
Yep, and you know, incidentally, it was last year, January 2021, January was the first cabinet outreach
Region 10.
to Region 10,
Yeah.
and a lot of promises were made. As a matter of fact, they had promised to do 1,000 houses, I think, build 1,000 houses in Linden, 50 of which were going to professionals, and that was supposed to be done before the end of 2021.
Okay, where is that today?
Right. It'll be interesting to know where that is. Right. In addition to that, they would have, I just want to call it just a couple of things. They promised to do something pertaining to jobs. There was an announced plan to develop an online portal to allow young people to have specific training needs in all areas, including hospitality sector, to register their interest. This would allow youths to benefit from opportunities that would arise in all areas. I wonder how we are where that is concerned. That was a promise, right? And that was promised to over 200 youths from Linden who want to be trained in the hospitality sector to do so. How did that go, right? Government, it said, would be moving to establish the National Tourism Hospitality Institute.
Yeah.
Again, the online portal would therefore support that initiative as well. There is the housing issue that was supposed to be looked at as well. It said here that the government was ready to work with groups to prepare them to take advantage of all the opportunities on the horizon, and announced that Charles Ramson will be visiting every youth group in Region 10 with the intention to craft a master plan before the end of 2021, before rather the 2021 budget is presented, right? Whatever happened to that meeting with Charles Ramson and every youth group, or even one youth group in Linden, and the master plan? Where are we on the master plan? For Linden, this was for Linden, right? And Charles Ramson. What happened to that? What else was promised in that cabinet outreach? Lots of things. He said they ain't concerned in politics. It says here, in this report I have here, the administration would build 1,000 houses in Region 10, 50 of which would be given to young professionals. He said those homes would be for doctors who are working in the region. Ali told the doctors that officials from the Central Housing and Planning Authority would return to the region following that, and persons from the banking institution to fast track pre-qualification. Where are we on those 1,000 houses that were supposed to be built in Linden? Where are we on that? But we made more promises. And you know, we need the institutional knowledge of people like Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kisum, because they've had their own plans. Also, it's not plans, their own problems with promises being made in 2011, 2012 with the same government, with things for Linden. For instance, Linden had the television station, was supposed to be belonging to the town, but I heard that was now taken over by NCN, right? And you know how we had to fight to get a television station. Matter of fact, it was under the last administration, after years of the promises by the PPP, that Linden was able to be granted that television station. And I think finally on that front, among other things that were promised to Linden last year, this time, that is still looking out for, right? It said here that the intention is to work with farmers, for instance, in Linden to develop a master plan, a lot of master plans through which they can increase their respective productive capacities in agriculture, right? And then, listen to this, the creation of employment within Linden, Region 10 communities is high on the government's agenda. It's so high, it wasn't even catered for in the last budget. It is so high, it wasn't even catered for in the last budget.
I want to make a point when it comes to this job creation. I don't want to let this conversation end without me making this point. we're looking at the last census that we have for Guyana was the 2012 census. So those are the numbers that we have to rely on. This year, we should be seeing a new census with new numbers coming out. But I want to make the point that Barjagio made this statement that he's going to be providing this 8,000 jobs. He went to Region 2 and he said they're going to do 800 part-time jobs. He came in for a whipping through the public on that. Hence, he went to Linden and he said, oh, he's going to be doing 800 part-time jobs in Linden also. And I'm saying he because I don't know if the cabinet is aware, all right? Because we don't have post-cabinet briefings and such. So we don't know if this is a Barjagio position or if this is a cabinet position. But nevertheless, we're going to assume that this is the direction that they're saying they're taking. And I want to make the point that you were saying 800 for Region 2. You were saying 800 for Region 10, right? You're saying that's 1,600. You're saying in total you're going to be doing 8,000 part-time jobs. That is his solution to deal with the crisis that is happening right now. But it's going to be interesting for me when they come to Georgetown, Region 4 in particular, because I want to make the point that between in Region 2, the last census had the population there at 46,000. The Region 10, last census at 39 there. And at Region 4, you had this 313,000 plus persons there. So what proportion of this 8,000 part-time job is he going to actually be bringing to Region 4? You know, I've been very much interested to see that because...
You want more than 800?
No, I'm not saying I want more than 800. I'm saying that you got to make sense out of your numbers. And you can't be going around haphazardly just pushing numbers around to the
But that's what's
region,
happening.
right? But you can't continue.
Pulling things out of the hat, pulling numbers out of the
But you
hat.
have to call it out because here we have Georgetown. And walk the streets of Georgetown. You see so many persons out there, so many young people without jobs and so forth. What proportion of that 8,000 part-time job are you going to be offering to those people?
The other thing is, what qualification would you be looking for? What skills are available out there?
No, well, they've been often saying that they're looking at that. You can't do 800 part-time job and tell people you need this big qualification. Hell no, that's another level of BS, right? So my point is the proportion of young people alone that are unemployed in Region 4 is something for you to think about. And when you were talking about 8,000 part-time jobs, and when you're going around to the region saying that you're going to give 800 here, you're going to give 800 there, then you need to come with a solid plan when it comes to dealing with persons that are unemployed in Region 4, because the magnitude of those persons are going to be the volume is so severe that you can't just come and say, well, I would be, it's all hell if he actually comes to Region 4 and say, oh, we're going to do 800 per region, 10 region or 800, because those are the way in which they go about and they handle policy measures. That's how they do policy direction. Charles Ramsden went out, National Assembly, and he said, oh, I'm looking after the fields, and I'm giving $10 million to every field, regardless of the needs, regardless of whether or not a field probably needed $4 million to complete, and one needed $20 million. Oh, we're giving $10 million to each of these grounds, and yes, I'm doing this. Is equality, right? But when you're managing a country, you don't look at it like that, because you have to manage a country based on an equitable perspective. Everything that you do have to see through eyes of not equality, but equity altogether. And if you're going to the various regions and you're talking about tackling the rising cost of living as it pertains to helping persons with part-time job, then you need to do that through a lens of equity and not just equality. So you can't just haphazardly be throwing numbers out there. It doesn't make sense. You're not impacting persons.
Rita, I don't know what level of seriousness to take this with. If it's because Jaglu says it is going to happen,
yeah,
or is it because the second vice president said it will happen?
No, but that's why I said we're going to look at it. Or because the
president was overseas and Jaglu wanted some airtime. I just don't know.
We can't take with no seriousness, and I want to make the point that, and that's why I said we're going to check in with persons after this 3 weeks. You said 3 weeks, okay, 3 weeks. And we're going to check in with the communities then. But I want to remind persons that they said they're opening back the sugar industry. They said they're going to the factories and opening back.
As though there was a lot of thought that went into this. When they were giving out, how many scholarships did they give out? Was 2,000 scholarships? Did you see, or was it more? Was it 8,000 scholarship? Wasn't 8,000 scholarship? They gave out in this last tranche here. What's about 2,000?
You're talking about that 20,000 scholarships.
You remember the
symbol?
You remember the PR that went into that?
Listen, they said
in every town.
They said and
for registration.
Every town that you have, there are billboards put up that says 20,000 scholarship delivered. Right? And these billboards were put up before the first scholarship was actually delivered.
This job situation seems different.
No, but you people gotta call it out. That can't be. How is that legal? How is it legal to blatantly go and lie to the people
this
like
job
that
situation seems very different. This job seems very different. Like them put much thought into it. You know, this job situation seems very different. Is this going to be? Where is this being managed through? Is it the local government? Is it through Ministry of Labor? You know, I mean, the scholarship got a whole secretariat. Who is managing getting these jobs to these people? Oh, I mean, like, you know, it didn't seem very thought out. I mean, when they were giving out this scholarship, they had big banners and so on, backdrops and so on. It just didn't seem to me to be very thought out at all. It's like a kind of off the cuff, right? Irfan, you run off some place and do stuff and say stuff that don't matter, and I can be here making all the big policy decisions. You know, that seems straight. And in the midst of that, getting into some problems in the region too.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a whole lot with that, but I challenge person. I think we should, what we're going to do, I'm just throwing this to share right now on the spot, but what we're going to do is actually going to the last bit of promises that were made specifically to Region 10 and highlighting those. And basically what we'll be doing is adding the promises that were made again, because persons need to realize that this is not the first time this administration is going to the region and making promises, right? It's not the first time.
And mind you, last year when they went to make the promises, this was on the heels of firing a whole set of people in Linden.
Correct.
It was on the,
the
heels of firing a whole set of people.
Brigade, exactly.
Yeah, a whole set of people. The data management, the ambulance brigade, a whole set of people. It was on the heels of that.
Yes.
So
now again, as a cover up, you know, as a icing on the cake, we promised Region 2 800, so we can go to Linden and promise 800 again without ever putting any bit of thought into it. We're going to be following it, but most definitely we know that we take our job very seriously to remind persons of what was said and done prior. So we're going to be reminding persons as to the fact that we face promises before the country, persons in Linden, the region faced promises before from the administration that are yet to be realized. So last year you can't say something and it hasn't happened yet, but now you come in and making new promises to just compile. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work so. Folks, I think that's our time.
Yeah, that is definitely our time, but I just want to...
time and more.
I gave a bit of breaking news as it comes to what is going on in Bartica with the fact that the Bells were voted out of the Speedboat Association, and I just want to give a bit of follow-up info on that says that the Bells did not show up to the meeting after they were trying to prevent the elections by having lower level staff from the Ministry of Labor telling people that they have to have an audit before the elections and all of those things, you know. So I am saying that to say that don't be surprised if they're challenging the result of these elections coming forward, because they did not attend.
Elections here aren't challenged.
They did not attend that meeting, but
you want to recount? That can't be so new.
You know, if you don't attend a meeting, that doesn't mean the election. It doesn't mean the election didn't happen. So that goes to show.
My advice to the Bells would be, in my Keith Rowley voice, if you know you have lost these elections, do so with dignity, Bells. That being said.
Guys, thank you so much for being with us.
Do so with dignity.
We have engaged you for an entire half an hour more than we should have. So thank you for staying with us this morning. Make sure that you are safe on the roadway. Very, very cautious when you go out there driving. Tell a friend, remind your family to be very cautious out there. And be sure to join Shared this midday.
Us.
Below the belt. And make sure also to join in the ring at 8 p.m. and share the live stream. Make sure you share. Make sure you smash the emoji. And let us all remember to partner with us so that we can continue.
Yeah, we got to get to the finish line for this month, folks. A lot of responsibilities still in front of us. We got to get to the finish line. Help us to do so. Several platforms available. We got Zelle, PayPal, Cash App. We got MMG, Western Union, MoneyGram. You want to know how to partner with us, folks? drop a WhatsApp message to 627-6963, 627-6963, and we're gonna tell you how. But we need your help to get to the finish line for March. Yep, March is almost done. It's almost done.
Yes,
And we got
exactly.
some responsibilities we need to.
All right, guys, have a good day and see you back tomorrow morning for FYI at 8 also. Bye.